Hey everybody, Threebone. I've just quickly put together this video. It's a more cut down version of the recent Tavern Table Devcast Q&A. It's specifically the Q&A section at the end, because that's where all the meat is really. I went through and I just basically cut out all the yapping, so please enjoy. If you wanted to catch up on the Devcast Q&A but you didn't have the time to go through the 2-hour podcast, I got you. Alright, so sit back, relax, put your headphones on, do some chores, do whatever you gotta do. This is definitely side monitor material. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm recording this during a cyclone, actually. It's going over my house. It's actually a lot lighter than we sort of expected, so everything at my place anyway. What you're seeing on your screen right now is the current mock-up rendition of the new Gathering Hall system. It is really fucking cool. This is planned to feature in the next wipe. Okay, so it's a little bit off now, but you can see where they want to take the direction with this. This stuff looks sick. This reminds me of fucking Habbo Hotel. Holy shit. It's gonna be based. But yeah, please enjoy.
So, but we won't know until we actually experiment, right? That's our driving goal. We think, hey, if that works, then guilds actually makes a lot of sense. It's like, hey, you come in, I played a bunch of EverQuest, and the first thing I log in is like backslash G. It's like, hey, everyone, and it's like, you backslash G, list. You see who from your guild is on, and you're like, hey, what are you guys doing? It's like, oh, I log in and I go into my guild or our personal guild gathering hall. I have the special privilege to get in there, and it's like, oh, hey, there's Odin. Hey, what were you planning to do? And I could see you there, right? That's kind of our hope here.
Yeah, I remember early on SCF talking about how it was supposed to be sort of a MMO light in a sense, or kind of like and I can see, kind of where you're going with this, with being able to create these persistent parts of the game that uplift the social aspect, that make the actual gameplay aspects of the game better, and having a social space where you can just basically pop in and see, okay, who's online. We've got these 3 people that I normally play with are all waiting for a match right now, but 2 of them are actually waiting for somebody else to get out of their match, so I'm going to team up with this guy. That is such a great idea, and I wish we had that right now. That sounds super fun. I know a couple people who are already plotting to take over Dark and Darker with their guilds.
So that's awesome. My goal is hopefully we'll see like Odin's #1 fan base fan guild, gathering hall or something, right?
Let's be honest, it's all going to be Otto. Where's Otto? That's going to be the top guild. Hey, I mean, the social aspect of this game is, like we mentioned before, a very important part of the game, and really one of the early driving factors of the game's growth. So it's good to hear that there's going to be a lot of focus on that coming up. Moving on, kind of to expand a little bit on that. I know this is somewhat of a weird jumping off point, but I wanted to talk about something cool that we looked at today. And just to keep in mind for everybody in chat, this is an early mock-up. This is not a finalized version of it, so bear with us. But we are working on an arena spectator system, and this is something that people have requested for quite a while. And this is, it's a little too early to talk specifics, but we've mentioned before that we do have some interest in doing tournaments down the line. And
this is my first time seeing this, but this is
really
awesome.
Yeah, I saw my first time today earlier too, when SCF sent it over to show off to the stream. But I was really excited about this because the potential for us to be able to facilitate tournaments, but also for the community to be able to kind of run their own tournaments, is really exciting. I think this kind of highlights, like, to me, an interesting turning point for the game, where social aspect is becoming more of a focus and more tools are being given to the players. While we're on the topic of this, can we talk about arena a little bit? I would like to kind of get us into the Q&A section here. We asked some questions.
Yeah. So there's definitely issues with the MMR system on the arenas right now. We know that. So the issue with, I think because of those whole loopholes with the MMR system is that the faith in MMR as a representation of your skill is like it's ruined right now, right? And that's our fault. It's difficult to start with this polluted data and then try to clean it up again. And so we came to that decision is that, hey, we're going to end this arena season. We're kind of chalk it up to, oh, okay, we messed up. Right?
We're taking the L on this one. We're taking the L.
Yeah, and again, we're still thinking about ways to have, the old Easter eggs and stuff, right? So that data is going to be saved. But then because we know the fix for the current loophole, MMR abusing. Yeah, we just call it MMR abusing.
Let's call it what
that-
it is.
And at least for the next, remaining time for this season is like try to get a cleaner representation of Arena. So we're gonna call it like, early access Arena season 3. The other thing we're doing is this next update that's coming out tonight is the random dungeon system is being applied for ruins and the goblin caves also. The big win for the random dungeon system is now we could start putting in modules individually. And some of the new modules that are coming in were actually built specifically with Arena in mind. You're gonna see the refresh of the Arena maps for season 3.
아레나 테스트 시즌 2에는 맵을 좀 좁은 맵들 위주로.
Yeah, so he said, for this current season, Arena is like he purposely wanted to see how Arena works with like this really tight corridor type of maps.
Wasn't a big fan.
다음 시즌에 아마 다뤘을 땐 맵 위주로 선택을 할 거야 아마.
And yeah, he's saying it's gonna be a much better. He plays Arena religiously, like
Oh yeah.
On Mondays, he's like he'll sometimes come in late because he's like, oh, I stayed up all night because I had to grind, right? So he knows, yeah. That's like another ulterior motivation for like the next season is like, okay, yeah, we're gonna update the maps.
So we're looking to update the maps. We're trying to fix some of the MMR abuses that people have been going after. And
옵저버 시스템이 아마 가을 정도에는 다 만들어질 것 같아요. 제 생각에는.
Oh, so yeah, the picture you showed of the observers. So he's talking about trying to do like once we get this system in, is do an official tournament by region, right? He's like, yeah, dude, he's going all out. Right? He's like, hey, we're gonna fly them out to Korea and then invite them here.
that's exciting stuff.
그 생각 있어요. 그 한국 팀은 우리 QA 팀이 이길 거예요. 제 생각에.
뭐 그럴 것 같긴 하지만.
I think our internal QA team is we have some of the best players here.
I think everyone watching the stream right now would like to take a swing at him and find out if that's real, if that's true or not.
Right? So that's what he's saying. Is like me saying that I just put a big target on the back. Trust us. There's levels even within the company. Like I try to play a lot, but I can't even hold a candle to some of these guys. So again, the Arena right now is just
it's still a test, and it wouldn't feel.
It's obviously a test because you saw like we made these huge blunders with MMRs. It's not ready.
And also, I think in general, people would not be satisfied with us giving out rewards when the best strategy to get the top rank right now is to sit in the swarm and heal. We know about that. We're working on fixing it. This is why the rewards are not coming just yet, but they are in the works. We did grab a ton of questions. We're running a little short on time, but we're gonna try to get through all of them. And if we have some time towards the end, we will show off like the remaining teasers that we have. As far as the questions go, we'll just start right from the top. And again, these are questions that we got from the Discord. We don't have the names attached to them. I apologize. Next time we do this, we'll try to grab the names as well. But first question on the list: have you ever considered changing the revive mechanics, especially with the random dungeons? It can sometimes be like almost impossible to get a teammate back. Just bad luck with res tables, continuous matchmaking, constantly pushing teams into you. Is there any idea of changing the revive mechanic for teams that lose a team member?
So for me, I've never thought about this, right? So because there's so many other stuff that is just like way like fix the game, right? kind of issues. I guess maybe this is
저는 이거는 뭐 그냥 플레이 할 수 있다고 생각해요. 밑으로 심장 가지고 내려갈 수도 있고, 그러니까 여러 가지 선택지가 있어서 이건 뭐 그렇게 문제는 아닌 것 같고.
Yeah, so he's saying he doesn't really see it as an issue right now. It's like, dude, there's multiple strategies. You could grab the heart, go down the level. Me, I'm being very open. Out of the list of things I had to think about, this was not even on it.
All right, well, I guess we'll come back to that one another time. The next question we have on the list is there any plans to add new stats or adjust existing ones, especially stats like true damage and add damage, which are currently sort of dominant in most people's kits? They kind of prioritize building it over mostly anything, particularly true damage. Is there a chance to add new stats or address those existing ones?
It's a question for SDF.
네, 그런 생각도 있지만 근데 일단 시즌 내에 이런 일은 잘 없을 거고.
Within the season, he's not planning to do it.
랜덤 옵션 변화는 아마 뭐 준다고 해도 다음 시즌, 이번 시즌에.
Maybe if it happens next season, but 뭐 추가할 거
없어요.
Yeah, he's not really thinking of
뭐
adding.
베이직 스탯들은 좀 조정해야 될 것도 있어요.
Yeah, so there are things like adjusting
얘기지만,
curve tables and stuff. Like I think even this next update that's going out tonight is that
근데 말을 해주면은 안 될 것 같고.
진짜요? 왜요?
그건 패치노트에서 보는 게 좋을 것 같아.
Okay. Okay. So he's saying he doesn't want to give insider information because people that hear this podcast and not they're gonna have a head start on the marketplace. Like, oh wait, this is going down or this is going up.
Gotcha. Okay, so secret until the patch notes, but there may be some
it's
changes.
something I wouldn't even have considered at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Will existing weapons get additional moves or attacks? Something like the felling axe getting a right click for a new swing.
So okay, the short answer is yes. He's thinking about it because now he's refocusing on combat. One specific example he brought up was like like the Bardiche or some of the staff weapons. They kind of did tune some of the impact resistance on that. He sees more people using it and it's like, oh, okay, that's a good sign that hey, if it's worthwhile in battle, it's something that he would consider adding
Gotcha.
to people use it.
We have a question here that's regarding are there any changes going to be made to continuous dungeon? I think we kind of already touched on this topic a little bit, that it's something that we're still evaluating and addressing as we go. Just to kind of address this question, are there any immediate future changes to continuous dungeon? Anything that we're thinking about in the short term?
그러니까 뭐 그런 거 좀 당연히 조정은 있을 건데 이제 우리 한국에선 난입이라고 표현을 많이 하니까.
Yeah, the re-entry.
네.
So I think that's the part that we need to really start looking at and adjusting the most.
네, 탈출이 너무 쉽기 때문에 지금은 그러니까 그 던전 모험하는 그런 그러니까 리스크 리워드 이런 게 좀 밸런스가 맞아야 되는데 지금은 되게 완전 캐주얼하고 이지하게 진짜 easy accessibility.
Yeah. So I think he's talking about because especially like the current system, like escaping is relatively speaking, historically is pretty easy now, right?
Except in Inferno.
So that's something that we're gonna actually kind of consider is like, hey, we kind of did underestimate how much easier escapes are gonna be. The rate of high reward items being able to be taken out. So I think there's gonna be adjustment going on. But again, we're going to do things one by one, and we're actually going to start separating out, like have our domains too, instead of, hey, pumping everything on, and then one by one coming out. Oh, wait, so yeah. Oh, okay.
Just one more.
Yeah, so yeah, one more point.
상호작용을 해야 문이 열리게 한다거나 그런 식으로 변경될 수 있어요.
So this does go back into that risk reward. It's not just changing the loot table. Like one of the things that we're actively exploring right now is like the static down portals. You have to actually interact with it to open. It adds a little bit more risk. It's not just
that actually addresses the next question that was on the list, which was about dealing with people camping extracts, which is another really big problem, especially in HR. They're sitting next to the Reds and taking very low risk fights, and if they lose, they just leave. So it's good to hear that this is being considered. So this is something that may potentially change in the future. That's very good to hear. The next question is related to mobs a little bit. I think mobs have been something that haven't changed very much in the recent time with the game. Are there any plans to make adjustments to AI behavior? Any changes to spawns? Really, there are some spawns that can be really difficult for certain classes. If you spawn in with like multiple nightmare axemen, you might just be screwed based on your spawn.
Yeah, so I think that's the issue of us not going through reevaluating. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of polish that hasn't been done properly. At least when it comes to the monsters itself, is that the monsters, there are some bugs in the system.
네, 그 얘기를 좀 해줘야 될 것 같아요. 그러니까 지금 많은 사람들이 그 one monster guy 알고
One guy?
Yeah, the one monster guy. Yeah.
이제 많아졌어요.
Yeah, so there's multiple. Yeah, there's three. Yeah.
이런 것들을 다 리프팅 하는데 시간을
그거를 설명하고 싶은 거였어요. So again, this is something that's hidden in the background. Is our history, and we built this game as fast as possible. So and we had the one monster guy, right? He did an outstanding job with the limited resources that he had, right? But the system that makes sense for us is like, oh, we should have Lego blocks. I want this monster. Oh wait, I need this part here, and I can make another monster, right? And so in the background, what we've been working on for the last 3 months now is that we've actually been refactoring and making an actual monster system. The problem is then you have to get all the old monsters and then remake it into here. And at the same time, we're testing them. It's like, hey, we need new swimming monsters eventually for the biome, right?
Right. The water map.
And so, yeah, the water map, which comes with it's a whole another set of challenges. Until that system, is ready, not even production, it's like somewhat set. There's kind of this slowdown, like, blockage for new monsters coming out right now.
So mobs are going to mostly stay the way they are until this new system to kind of be able
But
to take bits and
that's
pieces.
why it is buggy, because it wasn't made by a programmer, right?
So just like a quick kind of tack on question to that, it wasn't on the list. Is there a plan to add special variants of the monster where like, oh, this one leaves behind a flaming trail, like it's got the special warlock flame walk, like give a monster flame walk, or give a monster like an ice shield or something?
Kind of like unique monster. 근데 뭐 얘는 지금 이제 예를 들면 뭐 flame walk. So again, this is, we never thought this is real time. Like, oh wait, that's not a bad idea. What he's saying is having a pool of these kind of ideas to just like when we have the system in place, and then our monster guys now.
Monster guys, it's not one guy anymore.
Yeah, but again, we're kind of clearing out all those kind of stupid technical debt that we built up ourselves, one by one. And so the monster thing was a kind of a really big thing. It worked really well for what we needed at that time to expand quickly, and for other new higher monster guys to learn and build upon it. That old system is not good for that, right? So that's why we're reinvesting in making a new system.
So mobs will be mostly unchanged for a little while, but the new system is going to bring along some pretty sweeping changes, at least the ability to develop further.
Yeah, so the evil eye is broken because of that system right now.
I'm sorry to the evil eye guy.
R.I.P. evil eye guy, but it's not just that system.
Not
Yeah,
just
there's
the
a
system, but it's related.
yeah, it's related to that system.
Gotcha.
So.
This is kind of a big one. Will multiclassing or something similar to multiclassing, subclassing, something like that, either return to the game or like an entirely new system be developed?
그러니까 이 멀티클래스 하고 있는 이유가 있는데 지금은 이제 말하지 않을 거고.
So what he's saying is going back. Will the multi-class system come back as events? Yes,
Just
very
1 week.
short-term events. The reason why is because when we do this, we get this kind of internal data that really, really helps us kind of clean a lot of things up. Find kind of big loopholes, and at the same time, it kind of battle tests the structure, our abilities, and there's another secondary reason we want to strengthen this up. We need the critical mass of people testing this to find those combinations that break that system, right? And because we have plans for augmenting the system in other ways that have to do with the kind of the strategy of the company. So.
I think a lot of people are optimistic about subclassing or sort of class trees to sort of expand on individual build identity, but I think multi-classing is not something people are too excited about.
So there's two kind of needs there. It's like there's the needs of the company and the development and the improvement of the game structure itself, but at the same time, it does have that detrimental effect on the players, right? So I think this is something we have to be more careful about. But at the same time, it's like the player base going and trying to break that system is so valuable for us, and then it helps us make better stuff in the future. But he did mention like the subclass system. It's always in the back of his mind. It was a high priority at one point, but the thing is like now, he's kind of understood, hey, these kind of systems, they have layers, and right now there's so many super high priority stuff on the combat.
The fundamentals need to be addressed first.
Now that focus is, let's get all this stuff fixed first,
Gotcha.
So bunny hopping, hot swapping, like target sizes not matching up,
Panther head hitbox.
Blocking, that kind of stuff. That if this isn't fixed,
everything else doesn't matter, right? So the core systems first, then expanding on the rest, which I think that's what most people would expect anyway. Let's get into, what are your thoughts on the religion system, because we recently just made an update to it. It still hasn't had a ton of impact on the game itself, but it has made a big difference in the market. How do you feel about the massive shift? I mean, 200k is a lot for even players who play a lot. I can't imagine that the average player could afford a 200k skin.
저는 한 10만 골드 정도? 반 정도 했어요.
So he's saying is when he originally designed the system, the intention was like, hey, that cat was at 100,000 gold, and right now he's at that level, right? Personally, with his character, and it was like that. We probably overestimated and the gold sync effect is having too much of an effect.
Too much of a swing.
Too much of a swing, yeah.
네,
And so that was our mistake in kind of gauging.
아마 다음 시즌 좀 조정될 것 같아요. 이번 시즌에 직접 조정하진 않을 거고.
Yeah, so he's saying is, so we missed a mark this season. We're not going to really touch it, and we're going to try again next season.
Have you ever considered disabling the market for the first couple weeks of
Yeah.
of release?
We actually talked about.
Yeah, we decided next season.
Oh,
there,
so?
Yeah, there will be no marketplace at the
Beginning.
at least 4 weeks. Maybe.
For the first month.
So we were talking
This is
about
news. This is the news. We're just hearing this for the first time.
No, so Tarkov did this, right? And I think like it was pretty evenly split between, oh, this is great or this sucks, right? But
You gotta try it though, right?
That was our thing. It was like, hey, yeah, it could be disaster. So it was like we saw, Tarkov, and it was inconclusive. That was our response. Was like, hey, there's very, very passionate people that really hate it, and there's very, very passionate people that really like that, right? And we're like, okay, what's the pros and cons?
So somebody was asking for clarification. Is that going to include both the marketplace and the old trading system?
Yes. So that was the thing. It was like, this came up because we're talking about like, oh, okay, what is the original super hardcore vision that, you want to establish for like high rollers? But then effects of the marketplace do have that kind of dilution effect, right? And it was like, oh, okay.
네. 그리고 이거는 이제 태님한테는 얘기 안 했었던 건데.
He's saying this is, I'm hearing it for the first time. He never told me this. So he's just
그런 아이디어도
brainstorming, throwing out, but he's like, hey, so all this content all at once, right? So
Right.
that's the thing. Or is it going to, do we want something that, things are progressed, like with the crafting system with the quest, how it locks it by the week, right? There is feedback saying that sucks. We want everything all at once. But I think first of all, we do have seasons. That's part of the reality of our game. Is like, hey, so can we make this the progression of the season be more meaningful? And so that's the thing that we're kind of exploring. How will that change players' behavior? Not being able to sell things right away, right? And again, this is the inception of the idea right now. It's not fully. So he said 4 weeks right now. I was like, whoa, because yesterday, is this even possible or not? Oh no, should we do it or not? So we'll see. Again, super interesting question, and it's just very timely too. So.
But that's interesting. Hey, I mean, listen, I would love to try solo self-found and know a lot of. I will say, of all the things that we've talked about tonight, the potential of no trade for the first 4 weeks is the thing I saw the most W's in chat for. So we'll take that with a grain of salt.
이거 사람들이 좋아하다고 지금까지.
뭐 근데 재밌을지 안
Yeah, so we don't know. We have our assumptions, and we kind of differ too. It's like, oh, we'll make an internal bet.
So on the topic of the economy there, keys have been a big point of contention across the game's lifespan. And in the past, keys were sort of a major part of content. The key rooms used to be where a lot of engagements would happen, and people would use them because they were valuable as usable items. But now their market value, because of gold storage and how much inflation there was, you don't use keys. Even Mystic Gems, people really don't use them. You can if you want to make a video about it. It's obviously a big content thing. But is there a plan to do anything with keys? Maybe make them drop more frequently. Maybe make them bind on pickups so you can't trade them, or maybe make them much more valuable to use. Anything like that.
Okay. So I think we had to readjust So part of the reason that they're previously they were actually worthwhile using because potential exchange rate or the effective value kind of matched what you could get from the keys. And right now it's just like everything's so abundant. It's like, okay, it's just more of a symbolic thing. Internally, so he's saying, oh, I haven't told you this, but it was like we're on the same wavelength. We think there has to be a readjustment to the reward, risk reward. These are things that we had internally discussed a lot. Is like the risk reward right now is very, very skewed, and you're gonna see it again with the first version of the super hardcore high roller coming out. And people are gonna be like, dude, the reward's not worth it, and we know that, right? And it's just not easy to fix all in one go. So I think that's something, and that part is gonna be returned to my wheelhouse, right? I'm gonna work on it with our lead game designer, right? Is that, hey, this is something that we could work on together. But it is a pretty huge endeavor right here. It's
Yeah.
like it's multiple different tables, but that's something we want to address, and the keys are linked to that. And then at the same time, I know the content team now has ideas to make keys more valuable in a different way that kind of links to this, but makes it more fun too.
Well, so here's a follow-up question that kind of links into that. Is there any plan to add like kind of events to the map, or maybe hotspots where like, hey, go here because there's going to be higher rewards here. Maybe the loot's boosted. Maybe there's more spawns of sub bosses. Maybe you have a higher drop chance for certain materials. You know, maybe that could be an indicator for where the key rooms are. Like events. Maybe keys could tie into that somehow.
뭐 그런 아이디어도 재밌겠지만 지금은 이제
So
네.
that all sounds cool, but it was just like, yeah, we haven't really like deeply actually thought about that, because it was just like, okay, foundational stuff. Like building this game is so difficult because there's all this stuff that we're just kind of
too complex.
yeah, the complexity is so, so like, hey, there's still those complaints about like, we haven't really got the polish down. And so when you bring up something like events right now, it's like those are stuff that we talked about when we were super naive and innocent about, game, we're gonna make this game that's gonna have everything. But now we are like, okay, wait, we gotta fix this, and everything's like leaking, and it was like, okay, we'd love to have like the nice
So in summary, it's from a technical level, it's this is very potentially a really big challenge, and there are other things that are sort of taking priority.
We don't know. And it's just like right now, we don't have that liberty to even investigate that right now.
Okay, let's try to get through these next ones real quick. Will luck be changed in the future to have more of an impact, or at least maybe be a little bit more clear? Is there any chances to maybe make it harder to get it, but make it more effective?
So I think there is a problem with readability on the luck system, but I think the bigger problem came with we adjusted again. All of this tied into the risk reward system, the loot drop tables, right? Is that it was built with a certain assumption that loot is going to be very difficult across the varying grades. But the thing is, like right now, we just went, boom, and so the current luck system, the impact of it, because it had this assumption that a certain amount of this lower grade loot, had a high percentage chance coming out. And what luck actually does is it does raise the higher ones by a smaller amount. But the big thing that luck, as the current iteration, was that it drastically reduced the rate of low grade items. But the thing is, like, hey, we just gave everyone a bunch of luck by just making all these low grade items not,
right,
drastically lower anyways. So that's why so it does warrant adjustment, but at the same time, we've been hinting is that, hey, the entire loot drop system requires adjustment. So this has to be in tandem with that.
Gotcha. Real quick, any ideas for kind of end of wipe events? Is there any plans to? I've been asked this question a lot. Any plans to let uniques into Arena? People are wondering, hey, should I sell my artifacts, or should I hold on to them for Arena?
Yeah, so he says for sure he wants a unique.
그거 얘기해줬어요. 그러니까.
So it's a missing point there. Yeah. So this is a good point. That important point for when we start the next Arena season. Within this season, right, is to get that higher participation for that very last, kind of run. Is we're gonna switch on that mode where the item no longer needs to be SSF.
Okay, so any doesn't have to be minted. So we're this last test. Okay, towards the end, people will be able to wear.
So again, it's just to get higher participation into the arena because we're gonna stress test that MMR.
Okay, so next question is a pretty big one, and I think this is something that people have really been asking for a long time. Will there be any updates to the inventory system and any QOL features for inventories? Things like potions and arrows take up a lot of space, but we're also supposed to be getting more utility items that were mentioned in the past, and that could cause a lot of congestion in the inventory. Even things like your own stash, gold storage can be kind of frustrating for the casual or average player not being able to get chests and bags. Are there any plans to change player inventory, and any plans to change stash, any QOL, things like sort buttons, search functions?
그래서 뭐 소팅이라든지.
네, 근데 뭐 더 중요한 거는 그거죠.
퀴버.
네, 퀴버하고 뭐 그 컨슈머블 배그 이런 거. 네. So
근데 뭐 그거는 중요해요.
중요해요. It's kind of a high impact system, and so is.
그래서 이건 좀 신중하게 해야 되는 거라.
Okay, we got the little thing notification that this is really, we knew when he was playing Ranger, this was like super high on the radar. He's like, oh, dude, even 100 arrows is not enough for arena.
When's the quiver coming?
It's important, yeah. Again, our strong point is not management and scheduling yet. So
Okay.
and that's an understatement.
All right, so the next question I got here: is there any thoughts on having the leaderboard open up at the start and starting to use the? Is there any plans to bring back the old leaderboard system?
Like this time, it took almost a month for us to actually open the leaderboards. That's not what we wanted. Maybe something like a 2-week preseason. That's something more in line of what we think makes sense. So. But like having it start right as we start the season, I think that's just very dangerous knowing our history, right? So
speaking both for myself and for the players, I think it's not a secret at this point that people are kind of clamoring for a more impactful leaderboard, and that the AP system doesn't really deliver on that kind of competitive system. And especially if changes are going to come to HR, where the swarm might be coming back and it might be down to portals and stuff. Is there any chance that we see a change to the AP system to bring back something a little more competitive, a little more hardcore?
So again, the start of going back to this super hardcore mode only happened very recently, like 2 weeks ago. Now we haven't thought of all the extra stuff that's attached to that, so we had to start thinking about that. That's actually a very good point.
Okay, well, we have a few more things left to tease and a few just announcements to make. I did see some concerns about people talking about like cheating in RMT as SDF message in.
So we have something in the works. It's a serious issue. We always talk about that.
Top priority.
Yeah, it's been
trusted account system.
Yeah, so we have something in the works called the trusted account system. It's going to be pretty unique to our situation. We've gotten some inspiration from other systems that have something similar to that, right? But you'll actually see some of the front-facing stuff coming out even today's patch, right? So we're going to start letting people know, show, hey, how many people I'm reporting and how many actually result in bans.
Count.
Yeah, and we're going to start leveraging that kind of system to help the community better alert us to suspicious people. And then at the same time, we're working on a system is that even when we can't actively be capturing all these people, is that, hey, if there's, people that have that kind of spider sense and they're really good at finding these people, hey, we could put them into like a holding area, right?
We will make the guys like a dungeon police.
Yeah. So
he said it.
Internally, we call it like dungeon police, and so you'll start seeing the forward-facing stuff is like, hey, to motivate people, or it's not just motivate, it's like to give you guys the right feedback of like, hey, I'm not just abusing the system. So and the assumption is like, not everyone's going to be dungeon police material, but there has to be some feedback mechanism, and so that's the thing. We're going to show that to see if player behavior changes, and then use that data to work on this system to help us clean up the dungeon. Yeah, so he says we got to kind of wrap this up now.
Okay.
Because we have to get the patch ready. So if I should probably go along.
I can finish things up from here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
thank you guys for joining us.
We're gonna just get a quick bite, and then hopefully we can get the update out pretty soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. We while you guys are here, just so everybody knows, our part of the communication strategy is to try to do these a little bit more frequently. It will most likely be smaller in scale so that we don't have as much of an impact eating up the day, but we will like to try to do some larger, like maybe one a season where we do like really big reveals and stuff. But I'll let you guys get to it. We'll wrap up with just a few of the remaining previews that we've got. We will call it a night, but thank you guys very much for being here for the Q&A, and good luck with the patch.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Again, I apologize being long-winded and just talking so much abstract stuff, but I think having that context really matters. Next time, hopefully, Odin, we come out, we have much more actual concrete stuff, and that's my goal. that's my personal goal to get better at that.
It was a tough episode to get to because of everything else that's been going on, but we'll keep improving on these episodes in the future. Alrighty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
we'll see you guys soon then. Thank you so much,
players.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
I feel a lot better, being able to. It was a rough 2 weeks, man, or 3 weeks. So you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, it's just me now. Well, I'm glad everybody could tune in. Real quick, I just want to answer some questions. I can't go into too many details because I'm not a developer, but I will be able to try to answer some of the questions in chat. Real quick, I just want to touch base on the remaining topics that we had to talk about. The season wipe date is currently planned for April 10th. We didn't get. We probably could have done that while they were still here, but it just kind of slipped the mind. To clarify on the Q&A that we did from Discord, there was an open channel where we had asked the community for some questions, and we kind of reviewed and went through to pick out some questions that we could answer. There's some stuff that's still in development or that we can't quite talk about just yet. So there's a limitation on what we can talk about. As far as what we have left to show, I'm just going to give... I don't have too much to talk about here because I can't really give context to it. But there is a new merchant that will be coming soon that has an affinity system related to growth with it. It is the Cockatrice merchant, and I can show you guys some screenshots of this. I don't have too many details to give you this, but this is something that will most likely be coming with the upcoming wipe. We'll expand more on that in a future update. And there's also something that I accidentally spoiled earlier while I was trying to switch scenes without you guys seeing it, but you saw it earlier, and it is the cannon that is supposed to be something that is featured in the water map. So we'll talk more about this stuff in the future. I can't tell you too much about it without Terry and SDF here because I want to make sure that I'm representing the information correctly. But get excited. There's some cool stuff on the horizon. We will talk more about this in the future. The next Q&A that we do, we will probably try to do live with at least a few pre-captured questions so that we can fill the space in between while we have the moderators pick out questions in the interim. Terry SDF wanted to share these pictures with you guys. There's some construction going on at the offices, which is why there was a lot of delays, and this is also kind of getting in everybody's way at the moment. But the Ironmace offices are undergoing construction. Just to give you guys some assurance, we're not going anywhere. There's still still plenty of investment being made into the company, and there's confidence that we're going to keep developing the game. So they are working on expanding the office. Hopefully we'll be back to full operating capacity soon. And that is basically it for me. I will sign off by saying, as we mentioned before, there's going to be increased effort in communicating with our player base, and that includes, as Terry and SCF were talking about, the dungeon police. There's also some other things that we can't quite talk about yet with trusted reports and just gathering feedback and making sure that we're staying on top of bad actors to keep the community clean. So we are refocusing on these things, and this will be a big priority going forward. We appreciate you guys being patient as we figure out the best ways to do this, but we are committed to cleaning up the community and getting rid of these people. We apologize for, all the disturbances that they've caused up to this point, but that is about it, guys. I will see you all in the chat. I'll follow up and try to answer some questions in chat, but I need to get off of here myself. So I will see you guys all in the Discord. Thank you very much for tuning in. The VOD for this will be uploaded on YouTube, so if you missed parts of it, you can check it out there. We love you guys. Have a good night.